Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into René Descartes, specifically his huge project, The Principles of Philosophy from 1644.
Yeah, this wasn't just another philosophy book. I mean, this was Descartes trying to lay out a whole new blueprint for, well, for everything. Reality, knowledge, the whole universe.
All right, a complete user manual, almost, and it really marks the start of modern philosophy, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have the old ways of thinking, the scholastic system kind of crumbling. Science is buzzing after the Renaissance, but it's all a bit chaotic, disconnected. Descartes doesn't just patch things up. He brings in this radical tool, methodological doubt, basically using criticism itself as the only way to build real knowledge.
So that's our mission today, then, to follow that path. Start with that total doubt, see how he finds the one thing he can't doubt, and then rebuild everything from there.
Exactly. And track how he uses that certainty to redefine the physical world. Plus, how he manages to talk about the cosmos without getting into the same trouble Galileo did. It's quite the tightrope walk.
Before we dive into the doubt, though, a bit about the man. His background seems important here. Educated at a top Jesuit college, La Flèche.
Right, privileged background, yeah. 8 years there. And what's really telling is, you know, out of everything they taught him, theology, classics, all that, the thing that stuck, the thing that impressed him was the method of mathematics.
Yeah.
Its certainty, its logical steps. Everything else felt disconnected, maybe shaky.
He even thought kids should be taught how to think using that kind of clarity.
Yeah, that mathematical rigor became his obsession. And it led him, strangely enough, into military life, didn't it?
It did. He spent years traveling, joined a couple of armies during the 30 Years' War, but he wasn't exactly on the front lines, was he?
No, he famously said he was more of a spectator than an actor in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just watching, thinking, observing. You get the sense he was using that time to really hone his own ideas, preparing for his own kind of revolution, an intellectual one.
Okay, let's get to that foundation then. Principles, part 1. Methodological doubt. The goal is find something absolutely certain.
Yes, something utterly undeniable. And the method is extreme. You have to take anything
Yeah.
that has even the tiniest sliver of doubt attached to it and
Well, that's
just
true.
treat it as false, reject it completely, just to see what, if anything, is left standing.
And this isn't just doubting ancient philosophers. He doubts his own senses.
And everything's on the table, our senses. They trick us sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they always trick us out. The physical world around us could be a dream, gone.
Even math. That seems solid.
Even math. Because, well, people make mistakes in reasoning all the time, don't they?
Yeah.
And more profoundly, what if there's some powerful being, God, or maybe even a deceiver, who set things up so that we're always wrong? Even when we think we're adding 2 and 2, you have to push the doubt all the way.
But the paradox is that extreme doubting is what actually saves him.
That's the genius of it. Right there in the act of doubting everything, doubting his body, doubting the world, doubting math. He realizes there's one thing he can't doubt. The fact that he's the one doing the doubting.
The thinking proves the thinker.
Exactly. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. That's it. That's the first absolutely certain truth he lands on. The bedrock.
Now, he defines thinking very broadly here. Understanding, willing, imagining, even sensing. Doesn't that risk bringing the body back in through the back door if sensing is part of thinking?
Ah, but it's subtle. He's talking about the experience of sensing, the mental act itself. Even if you had no body, the feeling or awareness of seeing red or feeling warmth, that internal mental event that's still a form of thought happening in the mind, the soul. It's the consciousness of sensing, not the input from a physical eye.
Okay, so the mental event is undeniable, even if the external cause is doubtful.
Precisely. And because he can clearly conceive of his mind, this thinking thing existing entirely without his body, which he defines mainly by its extension, its physical dimensions, he concludes they must be fundamentally different substances.
The famous mind-body dualism, the real distinction.
That's the one. The self is the consciousness, the thinking substance. The body is the extended substance, separate things. And yeah, it's kind of wild that this idea, born from radical doubt, is still something we wrestle with constantly.
Before we move off this foundation, he tackles a really practical question. If our minds are, designed by a perfect God, why do we make so many mistakes? Why do we get things wrong?
Right. It's not a design flaw from God, he argues. It's about how 2 of our faculties interact. We have the understanding, our intellect, our ability to grasp ideas clearly. And we have the will, our ability to choose, affirm, deny, pursue.
And the problem is?
The problem is a mismatch in scope. Our understanding, our intellect, is finite. It's limited. We only clearly grasp so much at any given time. But our will, the will is infinite, boundless. It reflects God's infinite freedom in a way. It can affirm or deny anything, whether we understand it or not.
So it's like having a tiny flashlight, the understanding, but a massive trigger-happy confirm butter, the will.
That's a great way to put it. We get impatient. Our boundless will rushes ahead and makes judgments, forms opinions, asserts things before our limited understanding has had a chance to get a clear, distinct grasp of the matter. The error isn't in the tools, but in how we use them, basically, jumping to conclusions.
Okay, that makes sense. Don't judge what you don't clearly understand. So we've got the thinking self, the cogito, as the rock-solid starting point. Now, how does he use this certainty to build a picture of the physical world? Let's get into Principles Part 2, the new physics.
Right, this is where he really throws out the old rule book. The big question in physics was always, what is matter fundamentally made of? What's its essence?
And the old answers involved, what, forms and qualities?
Yeah, all sorts of complex ideas. Hotness, dryness, heaviness, inherent tendencies. Descartes just sweeps it all away. He says the only essential property of physical matter, of body, is extension.
Just being extended in space. Length, width, depth. That's it.
That's it, period.
Yeah.
All those other things we perceive, color, hardness, weight, heat, those are secondary qualities, effects on our senses maybe. They're not the essence of what matter is. Matter is geometry made real.
Wow, okay. That's incredibly spare. What does that immediately imply, if matter is just extension?
Two huge things drop out immediately.
Yeah.
First, no vacuum, no empty space.
Why not?
Because space is extension. And if extension is the actual substance of matter, then any place there's extension, space, there must be substance matter. They're the same thing. So a true void, totally empty space, is logically impossible. The universe must be completely full of this extended matter, a plenum.
Okay, universe is full. What's the second big implication?
No atoms. At least not in the classical sense of tiny, indivisible bits of stuff.
Because
Because if the essence of matter is extension, then any piece of matter, no matter how small you imagine it, still has length, width, and depth, right? It's still extended. And if it's extended, you can always conceptually divide it. You can imagine cutting it in half or in quarters. If it has dimensions, it's divisible. So there can't be a fundamental indivisible particle. Matter must be infinitely divisible.
So the universe isn't built of tiny bricks. It's more like a continuous fluid or jelly, infinitely sliceable?
Kinda, yeah. It paves the way for thinking about the universe as one giant mechanical system, operating according to mathematical laws. Which brings us to his laws of motion.
Right, derived not just from observation, but from the idea of God's unchanging nature preserving motion in the universe. What's the first one?
Law number one is basically inertia. Things stay as they are, either at rest or moving, unless something external pushes or pulls them.
That sounds obvious now, but it was a big deal then.
Huge. The old Aristotelian idea was that motion was unnatural, temporary. Things naturally wanted to slow down and stop unless constantly pushed. Descartes says no. Motion, or rest, is a state that persists unless acted upon.
Okay. Law 2.
Rectilinear motion. When something is moving, its natural tendency is to continue moving in a straight line, not a circle.
Ah, another jab at Aristotle and the idea of perfect circles for planets and stuff?
Exactly. He uses the analogy of a stone whirled in a sling. While it's in the sling, it's forced into a curve. But the instant you let go, snap, it flies off straight. That's its natural tendency.
Makes sense. And the third law. This one sounds crucial for that mechanical universe idea.
Yeah, the third law is about collision and momentum. It basically says all interactions are just transfers of motion. When two bodies hit, the total amount of motion, he had a concept similar to momentum, stays the same. If a stronger body hits a weaker one, it gives some motion to it and loses an equal amount itself. If it's weaker, it bounces off, changing direction, but the overall quantity of motion is conserved.
So push and pull, it's all just mechanical interactions, quantifiable, predictable, like clockwork.
Precisely. The whole physical universe becomes a giant deterministic machine governed by these simple mathematical laws.
Okay, that sets the stage perfectly for the trickiest part. Principles 3, cosmology. He's got this mechanical universe, but he knows Copernicus's model Earth, moving around the sun, is scientifically compelling yet theologically dangerous after Galileo.
Right. He needs to explain planetary motion, make it work like Copernicus, but without actually saying the Earth moves in a way that would get him condemned. It's a very fine line.
So how does he thread that needle?
With a really clever, some might say slippery, definition of motion, he defines true motion very specifically. It's not about moving relative to some fixed background stars or absolute space. True motion, for Descartes, is purely relative. It's the transfer of a body from the vicinity of the bodies immediately touching it, which we consider to be at rest.
Motion is only relative to your immediate neighbors.
Exactly, only relative to what's right next to you. This lets him introduce his famous vortex theory.
Ah, the cosmic whirlpools.
Yes. He pictures the entire solar system, the whole universe actually, as filled with this fine, fluid matter swirling around in giant whirlpools or vortices. The sun is at the center of a huge vortex. Planets like Earth are caught up in smaller subsidiary vortices within the big one.
So the Earth is just floating along in this swirling cosmic fluid.
Pretty much. And this is where his famous ship analogy comes in. It's the key to avoiding trouble.
Explain the ship.
Okay, imagine you're asleep in your cabin on a ship that's sailing smoothly from Calais to Dover. Relative to the parts of the ship immediately around you, the bed, the walls, the air in the cabin, are you moving?
No, I'm perfectly still relative to the cabin.
Right, but relative to the docks back in Calais or the shores of England you're approaching.
Then I'm definitely moving. Quite fast, probably.
Exactly. So Descartes says the Earth is like the person in the cabin. It's being carried along by the flow of its surrounding vortex, this celestial fluid. Relative to the particles of that fluid immediately touching it, the Earth isn't changing its position. It's at rest within its local environment.
Ah, I see. So even though the whole vortex, Earth included, is clearly moving around the sun.
According to his strict definition of motion, relative only to contiguous bodies, he can technically claim the Earth is not moving. It's at rest relative to its immediate surroundings.
That is an elegant dodge. It lets him have a heliocentric system in practice, explaining the planet's paths, while still saying the Earth is stationary in the sense the Church demanded.
It was incredibly clever. It satisfied the physics, more or less, and it kept the theologians calmer, aligning somewhat with models like Tycho Brahe's where the planets orbit the sun, but the sun orbits a stationary Earth. He basically made physics a branch of mathematics, a kind of geometry in motion.
And it all comes back to that faith and mathematical method, doesn't it? The whole system, starting with the certainty of the cogito, proving God exists to guarantee clear and distinct ideas, then building this mechanical, mathematically describable universe. It's all one coherent structure.
It is. And he had this wonderful analogy for it himself, the philosophical tree.
Right, tell us about the tree.
He saw the whole of philosophy like a tree. Metaphysics, the stuff we talked about first, the cogito, God, the nature of mind and certainty, that's the root. It anchors everything.
Okay, the foundation.
Then physics, his laws of motion, the vortex theory, the nature of matter is extension, that's the strong trunk growing out of the roots.
And the useful parts.
Those are the branches. He specifically mentions three major branches growing from the trunk of physics: medicine, understanding the body; mechanics, technology, building things; and ultimately morality, or ethics, how to live well based on understanding ourselves and the world.
And the key point is...
The fruit, the real benefits for humanity, the practical knowledge, the good life, you can only get those from the branches. But the branches can only grow strong and bear fruit if they're supported by a solid trunk, which itself needs firm roots.
Oh,
You need the whole system, from metaphysics up.
that's a powerful image for unity. And it brings us back, interestingly, to where we started, the difficulty of learning this new way of thinking if you were steeped in the old ways.
Yeah, Descartes actually said something quite provocative. He suggested that the people best equipped to grasp true philosophy might be those who knew the least about the old scholastic ways. Blank slates, almost.
Why? Because it's hard to unlearn.
Exactly. Echoing his point about the source of error, he thought the biggest obstacle to knowledge wasn't simple ignorance. It was having your mind cluttered with deeply ingrained false ideas and prejudices, especially those picked up uncritically in childhood, before our reason was fully developed. Unlearning those is harder than learning fresh.
So that leads perfectly to our final thought for you, the listener. Descartes' challenge really still resonates today, maybe more than ever.
Think about it. What prejudices, what assumptions that you picked up, maybe without even realizing it, might be holding you back today from seeing some truth clearly and distinctly?
Something to ponder as you navigate your own world.